There are assumptions and strings tying gender expression and sexuality together. I want to specifically discuss the belief held that lesbians cannot present in a feminine way. Whether people claim, you're too pretty to be a lesbian, or you're just experimenting, it's not that serious, a feminine lesbian often receives backlash. I want to define two of the most harmful repercussions that the belief that lesbians can't be feminine carries. For one, it can make the coming out process really confusing. And two, it further deepens gender roles. So you may be asking yourself, how can this make the coming out process confusing? Let me break it down for you. When a questioning lesbian is told over and over again that they cannot possibly be gay because they present in a feminine way, the process can be slowed tremendously. Coming out can often be in the best interest of the individual. Slowing down this process can be very harmful. Coming out can offer a new form of community not available before. Some feminine lesbians may even try and become more masculine to feel more secure in their sexuality. While masculine lesbians are completely valid, not every lesbian has to be masculine. This confusing process could all be stopped if people stop tying gender expression and sexuality together. Now that we understand personal repercussions, what about the social repercussion of deepening gender roles? The belief that feminine-presenting people can't be lesbians is not new. It stems from gender norms that exist all around us. From a young age, people are taught to act a certain way depending on their sex. Females are gendered as girls, and males are gendered as boys. The idea of princesses and princes happily ever after is pushed greatly onto children. Our country is very heteronormative. Heteronormativity is the belief that heterosexuality is the natural and normal sexuality for a person to have. But how does this relate to feminine lesbians? When our society is constantly talking about damsels in distress in need of a knight in shining armor, we paint the picture that women depend on men's attention and protection. So, people believe to get women, they need to be masculine. With this ideology, if a lesbian wants to be with a woman, they must be masculine presenting. Since femininity is so heavily related to getting attention from men, if you're not trying to get a man's attention, there's no need to be feminine, right? But that's where the logic is a bit flawed. Not all women are trying to get male attention with their femininity. An important piece of this problem to consider is how intersectionality comes into play. For example, a feminine lesbian of color often experiences discrimination that stems from both their sexual orientation and their racial identity. Similarly, a non-binary or trans lesbian faces distinct challenges compared to a cis lesbian. Trans and non-binary individuals often deal with invalidation of their gender identity in addition to the invalidation of their sexual orientation. By applying an intersectional lens to this issue, we can make sure that our solutions address the needs of the most marginalized. So now that you know the problems and harms that thinking lesbians can't be feminine brings forth, what can we do? Similarly to the problem, let's think about the solution as having two groups, one focusing on the individual actions and the other on broader societal effects. These approaches go hand in hand, and together they can address the issue at hand and create positive change. What can you personally do to help with our problem? The first step is education. Start educating yourself about the problem. Research and begin learning about the challenges faced by feminine lesbians and the way they are overlooked and invalidated. Once you feel you have a good grasp on the issue, you can start educating others. With the knowledge you gain, you will feel more empowered and confident when creating solutions. See something, hear something, say something. When a situation comes up that depicts a feminine lesbian being invalidated, whether it's casual conversation or a misrepresentation in the media, step in. Stereotypes thrive in silence, but change occurs when we address issues openly. Having a respectful and informative conversation with someone is a great way to combat social problems and shift people's perspectives. In addition to starting conversations, you can start seeking out more authentic lesbian media, in particular, media that represents different feminine lesbians, including intersectional lesbians. Again, we are trying to normalize the existence of feminine lesbians, and what's a better way than watching them interact? Representation is incredibly important. Consuming these kinds of stories help people empathize and see these people as humans. The second part of the solution ties into the media we consume and promote. We need to make authentic lesbian media mainstream. Heteronormativity is aided by the amount of heterosexual media in popular culture. If we move away from this and put more lesbian media onto people's devices, we can move towards normalization. The goal is to bring these stories into the forefront, making them visible and accessible to wider audiences. Lesbian media exists, it's just not what's popular. To combat this, we need to actively support these stories and push these narratives into the mainstream. We need to collectively advocate for platforms such as Netflix or Hulu to promote intersectional lesbian stories. As representation grows, societal norms will begin to be reshaped. The normalization of feminine lesbians begins with small individual efforts that can be extended to broader societal change. Through education, standing up for each other, and supporting authentic lesbian representation, we can work towards a more accepting world.